Okay, I'm on. I'm live to talk about some current events and news items that have crossed my path the last couple weeks. I gotta make sure I can see comments here. So I'm gonna make sure I've got everything set up good. Drag that across there, drag that across there. All right, so we should be good for any comments in case somebody's actually watching this time. But if not, that's fine. This is going to be on YouTube now as well as Twitch. So if that way I'm not doing any editing before it's so that it's like up 2 weeks late, um, because that's kind of the case. The last little bit has been I've been doing editing and then like just a quick little bit of editing, but then it takes 2 weeks for me to get it uploaded and deal with it because I've got work and other things going on. So this way it's just there. And I think I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing the live stream thing, even if I'm not, perfect. I'm not a professional. I'm just a dude. So I guess might as well. Oh, I guess I was going to talk before I get into the news items or whatever. I just wanted to say, like, if anybody who's watching this can support me on Patreon, I'd really appreciate it. My family and I, we need to move relatively quickly. So in the next couple months, I'm gonna have to have like $2,000 saved for a deposit on a new place. I've got a pretty decent sized family, 4 kids, and me and my partner, and so we need at least a 3 or 4 bedroom house, and that means at least $1,800 to $2,300 a month, and that's the damage deposit is usually around that same as the rent. Sometimes it's less, but in our case, I suspect that we will be paying the same. So yeah, I could sure use your support at patreon.com/skepticalleftist. And if you can't, that's fine too. I guess hit the like button on YouTube and all that stuff. I'm not a big unless I have a script in front of me. I'm not great at the pitch, but uh, you know, I appreciate everybody who watches, and I appreciate everybody who supports me. So I've got not a ton of news items that I collected over the last couple weeks. Um, Stuff that came across my desk, like my feed. It's not. It's a variety of sources. I should have double checked these though, so that I can see if I can actually access them, because some of these are. I remember them being through paywalls, but maybe we'll do a little bit of exploring and see if we can access them in some other way. So first things first, share screen. Okay, so you may remember, I think I talked about it last time. I talked a little bit about this. Um, I talked about Mandisa Thomas. This is pretty only kind of relevant to people who care about the atheist community. I'm not really a member of the atheist community anymore, but I still have many friends and like people that I care about a lot who are part of the atheist community. So we talked about Mandisa Thomas last time and some of the accusations there. And this one, we've got Andrew Torres, who was the host, one of the co-hosts of the Opening Arguments podcast, which was pretty popular. And he was on the board of the American Atheists. And yeah, so 2 board members of the American Atheists, one of the nation's best known atheist advocacy organizations, resigned in the past month over ethical concerns were raised about their actions at conferences for non-believers. Mandisa Thomas, president of Black Non-Believers Incorporated, gave up her seat on the board of American Atheists on January 11th, weeks after she was accused of violating Black Non-Believers Code of Conduct during the group's annual CCon cruise and conference held Thanksgiving weekend. After the allegations became public, Thomas told Religion News Service that she had mishandled a personal situation during the conference and had apologized. The Ethics Committee of the American Atheist Board said in December it was aware of the matter, but the organization made no mention of an ethics inquiry when Thomas resigned from the board. After careful consideration, thought and consideration, I have informed my colleagues on the American Atheist Board of Directors that I would be taking time to focus on my work at Black Nonbelievers and resigning from my position on the board, she said in her January 11th statement. So days later, P. Andrew Torres, an attorney and co-host of the popular Opening Arguments podcast, sent an email to his fellow American Atheist board members announcing that he too was stepping down from the board. Torres, who has referred to himself as a lowercase atheist lawyer, who is clear about his identity as a non-believer but does not litigate atheist causes, said he would still be involved in the organization but did not have time to commit to the board. But that was before, allegedly that was before he knew about the accusations that were levied against him. At the time he resigned, Torres had not been made aware that an ethics complaint had been filed with the board by an activist working with several women who accused him of sexual harassment, he told Religion News Service. The women say Torres sent them text messages, which they have shared with RNS. Just a sec. Sorry. Mute notifications. There we go. I'm a professional, goddammit. The women say that Torres sent them text messages, which they have shared with RNS, that they say made them uncomfortable. If you want the receipts, there's link around. Maybe I can find it and put it into the show notes for this. There's a link going around with all the receipts and statements from various in organizations and podcasts that Andrew Torres was a part of. Many accusations have kind of come out since this article. I think it's important to note that, this is a thing, a pretty big thing. One of the women, Felicia Entwistle, you might recognize her if you watch my interviews. Felicia has been on the show twice and is, I consider, a good friend. Told RNS that she met Torres in 2017 when he made a remote appearance on the Atheist podcast she hosts, being the Utah Outcasts, I believe. It seems odd to me that they wouldn't name it, but that's fine. The two struck up a friendship and began messaging, and Twistle said she hoped to learn from Torres how to grow the audience for her show. She said she was used to men being flirtatious and tried to laugh Torres's comments off. He would make a big show of apologizing to me, but then continued to make similar comments. She eventually met Torres in person at an event in Utah where she lives, and Twistle said that she, Torres, and other fans went out to a bar for drinks. After she left the bar, Torres messaged her asking her to come back to the hotel, saying he was leaving town the next day. And she said, he kept pushing after I got home. Eventually she ended up blocking Torres and cutting off ties. Yeah. I have felt ostracized from the atheist podcast community about it, she told RNS. The next person is Sharon Frankel, an attorney and actress, was a fan of Torres' podcast, and the two eventually had a consensual sexual relationship, according to the text messages reviewed by Religious News Service. Frankel said she cut off the romantic relationship when the two began collaborating on legal work, at which point she met his wife and family. Torres wanted to pursue their sexual relationship even after Frankel told him it was over, according to Frankel. In their text messages, Torres appears to apologize for misleading her and for his part in the relationship. If you are a person who follows Sharon, and I am, and I think it's well known that there's this almost seems to. I mean, this is a article plays it safe. I think in what it's saying, because some of the accusations that Sharon put forward and some of the accusations that other people put forward are a little bit more extreme. I don't know if I can say much more because not that I'm worried too much about myself getting sued, but I don't want to speak for people without, them being able to speak for themselves. Check out, I like I say, I'm going to post the links for the receipts, I guess you would say. Yeah. So then there's a statement from Nick Fish of American Atheists. Um, yeah. So this has actually been, I, it's a big deal in that the atheist community, the atheist podcast community, had become in these circles that Andrew Torres was in is supposed to be um, ostensibly progressive and thoughtful and so on and so forth. Um, I might talk to somebody about this in a future episode. Kind of the hypocrisy of progressive white dudes, like because it appears that in many cases we suck, even though we're supposed to be like trying, right? Uh, Even though we're supposed to be the good ones. A lot of us, like maybe we don't stand up, we don't hold up our end of the bargain, as you know, we don't stand up for people. We aren't allies or accomplices in any way. We're just out there trying to put on a face of, and I say myself because it's always possible that I'm not living up to what I should be doing. Vilkin 999. Thank you. I do suck. Yes, we all sort of suck. uh, it's frustrating, and it would be nice if we could all get better, but that's where we are. And yeah, it would be nice, like I say. Uh, it's a pretty big topic. A lot of people that I know and care about were affected by this. Maybe that's so my own bias is coming through on this kind of article, this kind of topic, but yeah, it'd be nice if we could do things a little bit differently. Okay, so let's bring up the next article. I don't want to pontificate too long on how much white dudes suck, including myself. Um, Latest change to the doomsday clock brings us closer to midnight than ever. So this came out on January 25th, 2023, but I must have seen it in the last 2 weeks or else it wouldn't be in this particular stream. Top scientists and security experts moved the doomsday clock forward on Tuesday to just 90 seconds to midnight, signaling an increased risk to humanity's survival from the nuclear shadow over the Ukraine conflict and the growing climate crisis. I don't know. I don't know. The new timing of the clock set by the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists is closer to midnight than ever. The hands of the clock, which the Bulletin describes as a metaphor for how close humanity is to self annihilation, has been at 100 seconds to midnight since January 2020, the closest to midnight it has been in its history. A decision to reset the hand of the symbolic timepiece is taken each year by the Bulletin Science and Security Board and the Board of Sponsors, which includes 10 Nobel laureates. In a statement, the Bulletin said it was advancing the hands of the clock by 10 seconds this year, due largely, but not exclusively, to Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the increased risk of nuclear escalation. Oh boy. Russia's thinly veiled threats to use nuclear weapons remind the world that escalation of the conflict by accident, intention, or miscalculation is a terrible risk. It said the possibility that the conflict could spin out of anyone's control remains high. I was just talking to a guy at work here last week about this exact thing. Like, we're all supposed to be like, whether you blame Russia or NATO, it doesn't matter. The fact that we're this close to potentially being destroyed is rather concerning. But we're all supposed to just, go to work and like live our lives like nothing's going on. Like, I gotta be my power bill still needs to be paid. My internet bill still needs to be paid. It's very fucked up. It's absolutely insane that this is how that our world is this close to potential doom. We're all just supposed to go to work and get groceries and all this, whatever. I know it's not an original commentary, but holy fuck, it's so fucked. It's so fucked. So that's that. Call for action. Former UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon also called for the world leaders to take action in a world that has become more dangerous because of COVID-19, extreme weather events, and Russia's outrageous war on Ukraine. Leaders did not heed the doomsday clock's warnings in 2020, Ban said. We all continue to pay the price in 2023. It is vital for all our sakes that they act. The Nobel Peace Prize winning international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, it also noted the shift in the clock's hands. We have had enough of the doomsday clock warnings being followed by inaction, ICANN Executive Director Beatrice Finn said in a statement. Aha. So this is a thing that isn't good. I don't like it. I'm supposed to have some kind of insight into this, but it's I don't know. My brain goes, I can't actually like have a thought that's clear about this fucking situation. How do you, when the people in power refuse to take action and to refuse to do anything substantive on climate change in regards to an ever evolving virus that we have just decided doesn't matter anymore, and even the mere existence of these nuclear weapons that can wipe out the entirety of humanity, and nobody with power gives a shit, right? Like they're all like very gung ho to fucking make excuses for why they don't do anything and how much they talk about how much it matters, but like again, who gives a shit, right? Okay, I'm gonna switch topics to something equally, something also horrible. This was from January 18th, 2023, from Cosmos magazine. Dirty laundry, microplastic pollution from machine and hand washing revealed. Researchers wring out the facts. I'm going to try and blow that up a little more. Okay, if you're anything like me, garment care instructions, which read hand wash only, are to be regarded as more suggestions than hard and fast rule. Not even suggestions, actually, like just to be ignored. So the new findings of a study from the American Chemical Society make for somewhat unwelcome news for those already overburdened by laundry. The research published in ACS Environmental Science and Technology Water finds hand washing clothes reduces microplastic pollution and is environmentally greener compared to using a machine. I think that's intuitively true. Like I think on some level we all can just like be like, yeah, obviously that's true, right? Previous research has shown microplastics, tiny plastic particles or fibers smaller than 5 millimeters in diameter, are released when clothes are machine washed. These can end up in wastewater and the environment. Last year, a report on sustainable textiles from the Monash Sustainable Development Institute noted 35% of microplastic ocean pollution comes from washing textiles. Yet hand washing, which remains common practice in many parts of the world, has received comparatively little research attention, the paper from the American Chemical Society notes. To investigate, the research team cleaned 15 centimeters by 15 centimeter fabric swashes of 100% polyester knit and a 95% polyester 5% spandex blend. They used different methods of hand washing in a stainless steel basin and machine washing in a top loader. The machine and rinsing liquid was collected, filtered, dried, and photographed. When washed by hand, the polyester fabric released 1,853 microplastic pieces on average. This was far fewer than the 27,723 microplastic pieces released when the same fabric was machine washed. Yikes. The size of microplastic fibers released in hand washing was longer on average, 258 than machine washing. At 1 micrometer is equivalent to 0.001 millimeters. Okay. So that's a thing that we also have to be concerned with. Wow. Well, I can honestly say I'm probably still not going to wash anything by hand at this point. I don't have the time to do that. Who has the time for that within our society? Perhaps if we're lucky, if you're like in a kind of an inland place like I am, like we're pretty far from the ocean, so it's not like any wastewater is really getting dumped into the ocean. It does go into a lagoon system, and hopefully it gets treated properly so that it gets recycled. I know that I'm not a waste management expert in that type of waste. I know a lot about like industrial waste, how to process and deal with industrial waste, uh, but not with this kind of like personal use stuff, like from because that water obviously goes into the sewers and whatnot. So where it ultimately ends up when you're inland, I don't know. When you're on, and if you're, I don't know what the situation is when you're near the ocean, but okay, so let's share this next one. So Hong Kong transgender men win appeal over status change. Hong Kong's top court has ruled that full sex reassignment surgery should not be a prerequisite for transgender people to have their gender changed on their official identity cards, which is cool. Hong Kong's top court ruled Monday that full sex reassignment surgery should not be a prerequisite for transgender people to have their gender changed on their official identity cards. In a move that is likely to have far-reaching impact on the transgender community, a transgender activist Henry Edward C, and a person identified only as Q, appealed to the court last month over the government's refusal to change the genders on their ID cards because of their decision not to have full sex reassignment surgeries. Z and Q are both transgender men who have had their breasts removed, received hormonal treatments, and lived their lives as males with professional support and guidance as well as psychiatric treatment. The judgment by the Court of Final Appeal is expected to have a wide impact on the LGBTQ community because of its transgender members consider having operation. Yeah, because many of its transgender members consider having the operation unnecessary and risky. And I don't know what the maybe this article kind of goes into it, but if you don't have like like a national health service or like universal like healthcare, those I'm sure those surgeries are expensive, but like if you were in the United States and you wanted to have gender reassignment surgery, that's going to cost your insurance company if you don't, but if you don't have insurance, then I assume you just can't do it because a lot of people can't afford to go and pay for things like that. So yeah, good on Hong Kong. I'm glad that's a thing that they did. Let's see. Am I going to be able to read this article? Perhaps. So we got preacher accused of enabling pedophile at creationist's Dino theme park. Ex-residents of the theme park where the child drowned in 2020 say a man convicted of playing strip poker with young boys brought a child to the park and shared a bed with him. This is written on February 4th, 2023 by Kelly Weil. Sorry, I'm thirsty. Billy Summers had only known Kent Hovind for a couple of days when Hovind told him about the convicted child sex offender who sometimes visited Hovind's Christian amusement park. They were in Hovind's car picking up supplies for Dinosaur Adventureland and the creationist theme park that Hovind operates in a quiet pocket of Alabama. Hovind spoke about a longtime friend who had done time for battery and committing lewd acts on children under the age of 14. Hovind claimed the conviction was a sham and that the friend was actually being persecuted for his working to expose the New World Order. Oy. But Summers was alarmed. In my head, I was like, I'm out. Well, I'm out in the middle of Alabama right now, riding along with him, so I can't say nothing, Summers told the Daily Beast. In interviews with former workers and recordings from internal DAL meetings, I assume that's Dinosaur Adventureland. Yeah, DAL. What a dumb fucking name. Sorry. Hovind is a controversial young Earth creationist who preaches that Earth is less than 10,000 years old and the dinosaurs rode on Noah's Ark. Behind his literalist interpretation of the Bible is a more creative interpretation of the law. Hovind previously served 9 years in prison for tax avoidance. Not exactly something I consider a heinous crime. While he was behind bars, feds seized and sold an early iteration of DAL that Hovind operated in Pensacola, Florida. The park featured a zip line, a fossil dig pit, a creationist museum, and a tricycle racetrack. Rather than relaunch the Pensacola Park after his release from prison in 2015, Hovind opened a new DAL in Alabama. Where do these guys get all this fucking money? Oh. Yes, time to burn down the park. Yes, agreed. Where did I don't understand where these guys get the money. Like, he opened a park, it was shut down, so he just chose to open up another park. Like, doesn't that cost a lot? Yeah. DAL's woes go far beyond Hovind's tax troubles, was shuttered the first park. Since Hovind launched his latest incarnation in 2016, 2 wives have left him, one citing financial concerns with the park, and the other because he assaulted her. Yeah, Kent Hovind is a piece of shit. I think that's fairly well understood. Not a good dude. I don't care about tax evasion. I really just don't. Like, I know that like that's a thing that I've seen atheists in the past get like kind of like, look, he's gone to jail for tax evasion. I don't care. That's not why I care. I care because he's a liar. I care because he's assaulted his ex-wife. Like, I care about stuff like that. I care because he's a bad dude in a lot of ways, but I don't care about tax evasion. The devil, I think, is using the dinosaurs to teach boys and girls the earth is millions of years old and it's propaganda. See, he's a liar. He's just a liar. And even if he believes it, it's still a lie. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's still not a truth statement. Anyway, so yeah. This is from the Daily Beast. I will post these links in the description of this when I'm done the show, when I'm done streaming. Here's okay. It's Canadian media. This is from The Passage. This is one of my I like this source. This is I feel connected to this source. It's Canadian, it's lefty, it's it generally has writing by people that I like. So Canadian media spreads police PR after the killing of Tyree Nichols. The Canadian press, credulously quoting police and ignoring violence committed by their forces, is staggering in its abdication of duty. Editor's note, this story contains multiple descriptions of police killings. I'm not sure I'm going to go through those. So I'm just kind of going to go for the gist of it. Let's try and blow this up a little bit, though, so that you can see it as well. On January 7th, Tyree Nichols, a 29-year-old black man, was, then beaten by the police, and he died later. Last Friday, video footage. This came out on February 2nd, so this is quite a few days ago. Video footage of multiple cameras depicting the brutal beating was released. 5 police officers were arrested and charged with murder and kidnapping prior to the video coming out, but in the days since then, more have been dismissed. They actually fired more than the 5. Well, that's something, right? They should fire all of them, but okay. The Memphis Police Department's Scorpion Unit, of which the 5 officers were members, has also been disbanded. Well, good. On the day the footage was released, the Canadian press published an article compiling public statements on it from various police chiefs and associations across Canada, including those in Toronto, Ottawa, Windsor, Peel, Regina, Edmonton. Their remarks include expressions of outrage about excessive force, arguing the officers failed to meet the high standards of policing. Oh, fuck off. They call the footage deeply disturbing and the event tragic. In these statements, if these statements are to be taken at face value, they're an indicator of severe shock and outrage among Canadian police officials who are trying to assure the public that they share their disgust and anger at the video, except that's just not true. However, the police statements shouldn't be taken at face value. Police have no obligation to tell the truth in any capacity of their jobs, nor does their conduct and record support the idea that they feel revulsion towards abusive and fatal violence from officers. Yep. Rather, the statements quoted should be perceived as trying to use the brutal killings of Nichols as PR for Canadian policing. This is something that you see a lot with Canadian authorities, or even just like Canadians in general. When we need an excuse for something that happened here, a lot of times we will say like, well, not we, but like Canadians, quote unquote, will say, oh, but it's so much worse down in the US. Oh, yeah, well, I mean, there's a little bit of racism here, but look how bad racism is down there. Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of this. Oh, but look how bad there's a little bit of corruption under politicians here. But oh, look how bad it is in the US. And it's just bullshit. It's just like maybe it is worse in the US, but like when the bar is on the floor, it's pretty fucking easy to step over. Unfortunately, the CP article, that was the Canadian press, which was published in multiple outlets, including the CBC, CTV News, CP24, and the Globe and Mail, doesn't include any critical voices speaking to the PR function of police statements. In fact, the article effectively serves as police PR in itself. Sorry, excuse me. As it goes out of its way to avoid mentioning incidents similar to the killing of Nichols that have taken place at the hands of the police forces these chiefs lead. Unfortunately, there are many of these incidents. Toronto Police Chief Myron Demkew tweeted, "I condemn the violent criminal actions of the officers involved in the killing of Nichols." In May 2020, 5 Toronto police officers were present when Regis Korchinski-Paquette, a Black and Indigenous woman, fell to her death from her apartment balcony. Ontario's Special Investigations Unit later announced that no charges would be filed against the officers. Korchinski-Paquette's family is currently suing the police force, among others. They were called for a well-being check, or what do you call those? Yeah. And somehow she ended up dead at the end of it. Don't call the fucking cops for well-being checks. Like, that's not a thing that's going to work. Peel Police Chief Nishan Durayapa called Nichols' killing deeply disturbing. In January 2020, Peel Police shot and killed Jamal Francique, a 28-year-old Black man, during an attempt to arrest him for an alleged bail violation they hadn't confirmed. The SIU acknowledged that there were real questions to be asked about the officer's conduct, but cleared them of all wrongdoing nonetheless. Winnipeg Police Chief Danny Smythe, in his capacity as president of the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police, sent his deepest condolences to the Nichols family and friends and called for an accountable and transparent process. In April 2020, Winnipeg police officers shot and killed Aisha Hudson, a 16-year-old Indigenous teenager who was in a car that had been reported stolen. The Independent Investigation Unit of Manitoba later cleared the officer of all charges. Of course. The Ottawa Police Service said in a statement that Nichols' killing destabilizes communities and undermines trust in the police. That's true. The actions of police undermine trust in the police. That's how it works, because they're fucking unaccountable, overpowered assholes. In January 2019, Ottawa police shot and killed Greg Ritchie, a 30-year-old Indigenous man. The SIU eventually announced that no charges would be laid against the officers. One of the officers who shot Ritchie had previously faced charges of assault causing bodily harm related to the arrest of a 50-year-old unhoused man. He was later acquitted. Regina Police Chief Evan Bray described the killing of Nichols as tragic and unnecessary. I live in Regina. Evan Bray is considered one of the good chiefs that we've had within the city. In May 2019, Regina police shot and killed Jeffrey Morris, a 41-year-old Métis man and father, in his own apartment. Jeffrey's mother accused the police officers of escalating the situation from the moment they arrived. Morris was handcuffed by the officers after he was killed. Mm-hmm. A statement from the Edmonton Police Service said of Nichols' killing that the actions that we have heard described and which we will see on video do not reflect police work in any form. Yes, they fucking do. Yes, they do. In February 2022, Edmonton police shot and killed Mitchell Tyler Potts, 36, after confronting him outside an apartment building. In the course of this shooting, the police accidentally shot a 59-year-old man, hitting him with a stray bullet. This man later died in hospital. Maybe police shouldn't have fucking guns. If we're going to have police, maybe they shouldn't have guns. So as you can see, the police chiefs across Canada like to pretend that policing is not a violent sport game that they fucking commit on citizens of their country, but it is. Okay, this one's interesting. The snitch in the silver hearse. The FBI paid a violent felon to infiltrate Denver's racial justice movement. I'm going to have to blow this up. Again. All right. Intercept really has their shit set up here. As racial justice protests broke out nationwide in the summer of 2020, a man driving a silver hearse became a regular at the demonstrations in Denver. So on and so forth. Description. What's his name? By activist Sanders, he was an old timer pushing 50 as he swaggered towards crowds of teens. I mean, it's written very very well. I didn't know very much about him as he drove a hearse, said Zeb Hall, a black activist. Inside this hearse was a lot of guns. Oof. The driver of the hearse was Michael Adam Windecker II. He went by the name Mickey and boasted of having been a soldier for the French Foreign Legion and the Peshmerga, the Kurdish fighting force, known for most recently for battling the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. Well, that's interesting. He claimed to have traveled to those battlefields and trained anti-fascist activists there in weapons, hand-to-hand combat, and explosives. He was just this dude talking about how he worked in a foreign military and how he was for the Black Lives Matter movement, Hall remembered. Denver was a hotspot during the summer of 2020, with protesters enraged not just by George Floyd's killing, but also by the senseless death of Elijah McClain, who was forcefully subdued by police in 2019 in Aurora, a Denver suburb, and injected with a legal dose of ketamine. Trey Quinn, a muscular black activist with a beard and large framed glasses, led some Denver protests. One night after Quinn had addressed a group of demonstrators, several young activists introduced him to Windecker. Hey, this guy's really dope. He's legit. He knows his shit. Quinn remembered being told by the fresh-faced activists, you should let him sit in and he will probably help you out. Windecker was really pushy, Quinn told me, trying to put himself at the forefront. For the last year, I've been investigating Windecker at his work for the FBI. Okay, so the FBI paid him tens of thousands of dollars in cash to infiltrate and spy on racial justice groups during the summer of 2020. Windecker was a Fed. Oh, Jesus, eh? This is why, like, I'm just kind of skimming this quick because I don't want to read I want to give you the chance to read this if you want to read it, but it's really shitty. Yeah, it's really shitty. Any accurate description of Windecker sounds like a cartoon with tattoos all over his body, a scraggly goatee, garishly large rings on his fingers, and a soggy cigar in his mouth. Windecker was hard to miss as he drove the streets of the Mile High City in his silver hearse. One rainy summer afternoon, after becoming a paid informant, Windecker met with his FBI handler, Special Agent Scott Dahlstrom. Fucking cops, man. Like Adam Conover did a really good interview with somebody who wrote with a woman who wrote a book about the snitch thing, like the paid informant thing, or not just the paid informant, but like using leverage the police using leverage they have against people in order to get them to snitch on other people. And this is entirely unregulated. There's no like official rules about how any of this goes, except for when you actually pay the money. Then I think there is some rules that you have to at least account for the money that you're using. But yeah, fucking don't snitch. Don't be a fucking informant. What the fuck? This is a long article. Wow. We don't investigate ideology. Yeah, bullshit. Bullshit. Fucking pigs. It drives me crazy. All right, let's go to another news story. The rise of female bisexuals and lesbians and the fall of men, or at least men's rights activists, by David Futrell on the WeHuntedTheMammoth.com, February 9th, 2023. It's always amusing to me when some guy has a big theory about why he can't get laid. It's never his fault. It's always some big trend, usually having something to do with feminism. Hey, yeah, that's the deal, right? Nothing's ever my fault. It's those nasty men-hating feminists. They you know how it is. Today I want to look at a mess of a post in the men's rights subreddit in which I really appreciate Dave Futrell because he like dives deep into like the men's rights stuff and like sees a lot of toxic shit that I don't think I would really enjoy dealing with. I always appreciate people who can filter down the extremist right and extremist like shitty movements into like, you know, things that I can grab onto and like kind of take a look at. So the post, which a guy basically tries to pin straight men's lack of success with women in recent years on what he claims is the rise in female bisexuality / lesbianism. My wife's a feminist and bi. I'm doing just fine. Fuck these guys. I agree. I don't know. Maybe just not being a piece of shit is the trick, right? Like try not to be a piece of shit. Try to treat people like women like people, you know, like I don't know. It seems pretty fucking lame to be complaining about not being able to get laid. Pretty pathetic. I've got nothing against LGBT, etc. people in general. Or want to restrict their rights. The nameless composer begins, uncompromisingly setting himself up for a big butt. But as I've posted, I do wonder how the rise in female bisexuality / lesbianism will affect the dating scene. Not encouraging hate for anyone, but I find it funny how most straight men celebrate lesbianism, lesbian porn, etc., when it'd actually be better for them if more men were gay / bi. More options, you'd think. I mean, if nothing against gay men, like be gay. I don't see what the problem is there. Gosh, I wonder why straight men would be into lesbian porn. Such a puzzler. Yeah, but also like it is important to recognize that like lesbians in real life, they don't exist for us to look at, right? Like we're not supposed to like women aren't objects for us to fantasize about. They're human beings who have different sexual proclivities. I think it's important to note that. Okay, so if we're going to do this, let's begin with the actual facts rather than this dude's ass facts. Yes, there's a rise in female bisexuality slash lesbianism, but only because there's also a rise in bisexuality and homosexuality in men. Because, because, in fact, all categories within the LGBTQ spectrum have seen an enormous rise in recent years, so much that now a full 7.1% of adult Americans identify as LGBT or something other than heterosexual, according to a 2022 Gallup poll, double the percentage found in a survey a decade earlier. The increase is especially pronounced amongst younger adults, with a credible 21% of Gen Z adults identifying as LGBTQ, with a large majority of that group identifying as bisexual. Indeed, the most American LGBTQ folks are bi. Anyway, back to this dude's bullshit. That's an interesting bit of stats. I like that. Um, I like that more people are feeling like they can identify that way. Like, I don't think that means that there's more people that are that. Like, I think a lot of people just felt oppressed and suppressed, and like now people have the ability to, exist without, you know, uh, they have the ability to exist freely, which I like. Anyway, back to this dude's bullshit. But if there's no longer a financial incentive and more women don't care about having and raising kids with the child's father, might more of these women choose female partners? Well, they might, but men are also more likely to choose male partners. I read in some populations of Japanese macaques, the females often choose other females over males, but but they're more lesbian than bisexual. I've noticed a lot of it seems like the continuation of the political lesbianism of the 70s. How are you connecting political lesbianism of the 70s and 90s to Japanese macaques? I don't get it. I don't see the connection. Like, you ask most young women now, and they say they prefer another attractive woman to a man. Again, 7.1%, like, it's not actually like a huge number, right? Like, it's not most women. It's some, it's not most. It's nonsense. And they'd say they prefer another attractive woman to a man, how much they don't need men, how women are so beautiful, wonderful, men are mostly trash. I mean, my partner thinks that most men are trash. I kind of do too. um, yeah, I don't know. Another interesting breakdown. I think I don't know. It's very funny that men are they're very concerned about not getting laid, and they have to blame like the existence of lesbians or bisexual women. When I was reading about various other things, I felt it was. I think I mentioned this in the other stream I did about current events about the Starlight tours. So I did a quick Google search on it, and found this article about that's actually really recent. Like, it's from January 23rd, 2023. Maria from the grunge.com. Marina Manukin. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. So it's the messed up truth of Canada Starlight Tours. I don't think I'm gonna read this article. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this in the links so that you can read about it. Obviously, Canada's. Do you think bigots will care less about race and gender, etc., when alien disclosure happens? No, no, I'm not convinced they'll. I'm not convinced that they will care less about racism. They will also just think, here's another group that we, the white supremacists, are superior to. That's what they'll think. And anyone who doesn't think that they're superior will be a humanity traitor or something, right? It'll just be another group to hate. But yeah, so the Starlight Tours, this was when Saskatoon, Saskatchewan police, they used to go and they would take Indigenous youth and, well, Indigenous people. I don't know if it was all youth, they would take indigenous people out to the outskirts of the city of Saskatoon and just drop them off out in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes in like deathly cold conditions. Some people have. Uh, so Neil Stonechild died. That was kind of one of the big cases that brought this to light. Um, Definitely worth checking out this article about uh, these starlight tours. It's a very fucked up practice. Don't ever let anybody tell you that like we treated or treat currently Indigenous peoples with respect in Saskatchewan. Uh, the police have been brutal to them pretty much since we started to take this land and try ever since settlers and colonizers tried to wipe them out essentially. Um, so this actually is kind of a little older article, but I saw it the other day. Black communities have known about mutual aid all along. Yeah, by Vicky Machama. Again, I'm very sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. This was originally published on September 1st, 2020, but then it was updated on January 30th, 2022. Um, yeah, in the pandemic, caremongering has become a new term for an old and joyous practice. There aren't, compared to Ontario and Quebec, that many Black people in British Columbia, less than 1/10 of the overall Black Canadian population. I love goobers. What? I don't know. Okay. Less than 1/10 of the overall Black Canadian population. But when troubles like, for instance, a global health crisis strike, official numbers don't matter. An ongoing calamity, anti Black racism becomes an acute emergency. So, as COVID-19 began to take hold, a group of activists and organizers did something that for Black folks is as old as time. They started a mutual aid group. Yeah, this is something that my partner has been talking about with like various groups from her home country. Oh, I know a little bit. I'm not an. I wouldn't say I know enough to like talk about it just off the cuff. It's something that I have a superficial understanding of. Yeah. So anyway, what was I saying? Damn it, lost my train of thought. Yes, from her home country, they would various people would they put in this money into a kind of a pot every month because so that everybody who has like if they have whoever out of the group has somebody back home who dies, then the money goes towards flying people home. And every month you'd put money into this, and so then if when your family comes up, you can like if somebody in your family passes away, then you get your money and you get your flight paid for basically, because this is just kind of like the community making sure that you can do. Oh, see you later, Toby too. Thanks for watching for a minute or five. Um, but yeah, so these communities. Oh, geez, I haven't even shared the tab. Damn it! I keep doing that. And so this is the story I'm looking at. Black communities have known about mutual aid all along, uh, and I'm trying to express that my partner and people from Burundi they have these communities where they uh, give each other money to fly home, and it's an ongoing basis. You put in a little bit every month, and then if your time comes up, if somebody you're in your family uh, passes away, then the fund will help you fly to Burundi. And it's very cool. It's like very mutual aid ish, very like taking care of each other, right? Like that's kind of the whole idea, is taking care of each other. And it's been a thing that like maybe one of these days I'll read the wiki page on Ubunhe. I can't remember exactly how to pronounce it. I apologize, but it's like a philosophy that is fairly common in various different African countries, because that kind of, it's like, it sounds a lot like anarchism and like the building and caring about your community and like caring about people around you. And it's something that's been in Africa for a long, long time, in various African countries for a long, long time. Um, but yeah, so there's that's from the Walrus. Very interesting article. It will also be in the show notes. And I've got one more, thankfully, just one more article to go through. Because this just happened and I don't know what the fuck to make of it. Toxic gases connected to Ohio train derailment cause concern. This is not good. Days after crews released and burned toxic chemicals transported by a direct train in Ohio, residents remain concerned about the toxic substances that could be lingering in their evacuated neighborhoods. About 50 cars, including 10 carrying hazardous materials, derailed in a fiery crash in East Palestine, according to rail operator Norfolk Southern and National Transportation Safety Board. Vinyl chloride was slowly released into the air. Geez, that doesn't sound good. Monday from 5 of those cars before crews ignited it to get rid of the highly flammable toxic chemicals in a controlled environment, creating a dark plume of smoke. Residents in the immediate area and nearby in Pennsylvania were evacuated beforehand because of the health risks from the fumes and can't yet return. That's as of Wednesday of last week, as the impact of burning vinyl chloride is a concern. Pretty heinous, like, and then the picture looks pretty brutal. Let's see if I can get that nice and big. But that went backwards. Yeah, that's as big as it's going to get on the screen, I guess. But pretty heinous. Yeah, I don't know what that's from. Is that from the same thing, same article? All right. File. A plume of smoke rises from the Norfolk Southern train that derailed Friday night in East Palestine, Ohio. Still on fire midday, February 4th, which is, 9 days ago now, after toxic chemicals released into the air from a train wreck in Ohio. Evacuated residents remain in the dark about the toxic substances lingering in their vacated neighborhoods while they await approval to return home. So do you have to throw all your shit out when you get home? Is it all going to have like nasty shit on it? I don't know, but another article to read in the show notes if you prefer that. I've been going on for a very long time for some reason. Today it took me a long time to get through these. Not a lot of articles, but I'm glad I'm done. Thank you to Velkin999 for hanging out, and thank you to Toby2, Toe_B_2, for hanging out. Watching the stream for a minute, and I hope everybody. As I guess before I go, just a reminder. My family and I we are needing to move soon. So we are trying to save some money. And so any support you can give me on Patreon or buy me a coffee or PayPal would be greatly appreciated. I have the links on my website, skepticalleftist.com. And if otherwise, just hit the like button on the video, and like maybe if you thought it was interesting at all, maybe share it around. Have yourself a great day, and we'll talk to you later.